Hello, everybody. I'm joined with a representative from the RBTU. That's it, yeah. And your name's Nissa.
Nissa, yeah.
Nissa.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us.
Welcome.
I want to talk to you today about all of the rail disputes that are happening with the government in New South Wales, but I also learned that you represent cleaners.
Yes, that's correct.
And you, as a result of representing cleaners, have stories.
Quite a few over the years, yes.
About cleaning filthy trains.
Yep, lovely condition that the trains have left in, especially after a Friday and Saturday night.
So those are the danger zones, are they?
Yeah, they're the more peak periods for people to be going out and doing lovely things that leave lovely results for us to clean up on.
Can we get more specific than lovely? What's lovely?
We use the term lovely as maybe like a whole vestibule of a train filled with vomit and
Of course, I forgot it's Friday, even though you just mentioned it there. It's been a while.
Yes.
And can I just say, for my past actions as a 19-year-old, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. Look, we've all been there. But no, we do. We see some very, very interesting things.
Give us some examples. What are the highlights that stick out for you personally?
One of them was
because this used to be your job, right?
Well, this is still my job.
Really?
This is still my job. I've been doing this for 14 plus years and it's great fun.
Hell, you deserve a medal.
Well, that's why we're trying to get what we're getting, but yeah.
Yeah. And then instead you get literally shit.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
14 years
Pretty
of
much.
shit.
Absolutely. So some of the things that we've actually had to deal with is literal shit fights on a train.
Well, like monkeys at the zoo.
Yes, absolutely monkeys at the zoo.
You saw the after of you were like a forensic cop coming in and seeing it, right?
Yeah, we didn't see the actual event happen, thank God. But we have had to clean up the aftermath of that.
But how do you know that it was a fight?
We say a shit fight because you can only imagine how you would get shit on a ceiling and walls and seats and all over the place. Like literally, it's like someone had an explosion, but on a mass scale for the whole vestibule to be filled. These are the lovely. That's a
horror story.
Yeah, that's only horrific. One. That's only one.
Oh my God.
We've even got some kind of sadder stories too, where unfortunately a passenger may have passed away on a train and the body was put into a cleaner's meal room for the cleaners to wait for. Yeah, just
what?
These are the things our cleaners have to deal with.
What?
Someone passed away on a train. One of my colleagues had a person pass away on the train and they moved, until the coroner could get there, they moved the body into the cleaner's meal room to wait there until the coroner could come.
Who moved it there?
Emergency services, I think, from memory, or the business, and it just in their mail room.
Well, just sitting there, just as a prank there for other people, just being like,
you just wait there, and coroner will come soon. Oh, and don't have your lunch yet, guys. Like these are the lovely ways we're treated. It's great.
What's the deal with that? What like, why? Why are you treated like that, do you think? What's going on? Like,
unfortunately,
when you talk to the government, what do they think they're offering you? Do they think that they're offering you like a fair deal, or they're just not interested, or?
Pretty much. We should be, especially after pandemic time, we should be just lucky to have a job, is essentially what the impression that we're getting, what we're being told. Just be lucky. You've got a job. There are other people that didn't have jobs in that time. You got through it. Be grateful. So it's that kind of thing. It's also, you get the backwards thinking of, well, anyone can do your job. Like from a cleaning perspective, anyone can do your job. And if you're not happy, then
we'll replace you.
Yeah, pretty much. Because like contract labour within the rail industry, within like the infrastructure area, the cleaning area, maintenance area, is rampant at the moment. It's just craziness. And when you're getting people either getting paid quite below award wage and have to get their own ABN numbers and all of that, or you get people that are making more money than us because they're casual workforce. So there's no consistency with the spectrum, and so they classify them as the cheaper option.
The casuals is the cheaper option, is it?
According to them, it's the cheaper option.
But it's more expensive.
Oh, it most definitely is. Like we've gone on the New South Wales e-tender website where you can see all the tenders that they put out, the government put out.
Yeah.
And in the last 3 years, aside from the COVID cleaning task force, they had supplementary labour, which backfills positions that become vacant for various reasons, which we constantly fight to get them brought back in-house. But they spent on 5 different contracting companies over $86 million, taxpayer dollars, for 3-year contracts for 5 different contracting companies, just to come in and supplement our cleaning labour.
Are they...
They're the cheaper option. Apparently, they're the cheaper option. They are.
Are they using it as a bargaining chip with you guys? This is the same thing that the Liberals do with everything,
Yes.
isn't it? It's just, we've got mates in the corporate sector, we're just going to hand out public money to them just in huge droves.
Yep.
And simultaneously, they can just come to you in enterprise bargaining and just say, like, you're easily replaceable, we've got all these casual workers.
Essentially.
away.
And then when you bring these things to light in an EA bargaining process, they're like, well, they're not the cheaper option. And, well, they're there just to supplement your labour. But as we've seen over the years, their workforce is getting larger and larger and ours is reducing because they're not filling the vacant positions that become available. They're just backfilling them with contract labour.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So
it's just the same thing that they're doing with everything. It's just this slow
privatisation by
increment.
stealth.
Yes, okay. And you're just feeling the same brunt as basically the rest of the public service.
Pretty much.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely. It's great fun.
I'll tell you what, you guys are saints, I'll tell you that. Like, the more I'm looking into this, the more I'm just realising that, God, it is so strange having a government in power for years whose sole objective is to try and disable the government as much as possible. It really seems like that's the end goal.
It is, and it is coming across to the workforce and the general public that way. It's easier to sell off assets, or it's easier to outsource aspects of the workforce, because then we can just turn around and go, well, we didn't have a part in it. It's becoming very clear that that's the way they're doing it.
Man, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, if you are a Liberal MP, there is so many advantages to replacing you with a casual.
Yep.
Doesn't give you the headache in negotiations. You've got donors ready to just scratch your back when it comes back to that. When it comes to accountability, if there's ever going to be any accountability, it's just like, well, go talk to Smithertons and Smithertons Corporation.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
We've seen it within our own EA bargaining when we bring up these issues with the supplementary labour and the costs and how these supplementary labour companies are treating their staff. Because yes, it is about protecting us, but it's also about protecting a workforce that is very vulnerable, which is student labour or contract labour. And like we've told them horror stories that we've heard from people that work in these contracting companies where you'll have 6 people living in a shipping container.
Yeah, I've heard about that one.
Yeah. So
the old freight apartments.
Yeah, it's great. Like, and they just sit there and go, well, how accurate is that? Or, well, that's not. Well, and it's just that we'll just deny the accountability. But you're employing these contracting companies, so you're actually allowing them to abuse and use these people at their own will. But at the same time, you're also not allowing us to have any livability with our income or our rights at work or anything like that. So it's just, they will just degrade everything.
Yeah. Now, more broadly, when this is all happening, that's the issues that you're dealing with.
Yep.
But at the moment, your union is kind of front and centre in New South Wales politics as the current scapegoat for the New South Wales Liberals.
Yes.
Can you just tell us what's going on?
During the bargaining process?
During the bargaining process.
Oh, well, it's a very long time of bargaining. I'll try and give you key points throughout it.
Oh, please, yeah. Just give us the study notes.
Okay, so at first we were in a lockdown period, so it was via Teams, and we had a very hostile negotiating team from the entity side of things being led by government. And then we went back to face-to-face when things started to open up, and we've had ministers come out and call us terrorists. We've had...
Oh, hence the shirt.
So this was out of...
I was sitting there just being like, well, that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know why you just put that there.
So the 21st of February, we obviously got locked out of our workplaces. We rocked up to work with the intention of working. And the government called us terrorists, and they were trying to make it spin like, oh, no, they're on strike. But then by about 11 o'clock, media kind of picked it up and then went, hang on a minute, no, they're actually not. Like, many of us sat there and said it's the weirdest thing in the whole part of the union movement. We've never seen workers and members chanting not on strike in their workplace. It's usually the other way around, like we're on strike. We were chanting not on strike so that the general public would actually know. Yeah. So
what?
Because the public would see we had workers out on platforms and we're going, we're not on strike.
Yeah.
But the government was telling them that we were.
Yeah.
And so that was the lovely start of a very rocky relationship that we've had with the government since then. We've had ministers that really shouldn't be ministers, and they're arrogant assholes like Tudor Hope and all of that coming out and saying that they want to terminate our EA and stuff. Those kind of threats, it makes for a great bargaining environment when you're constantly being threatened. It's been a shit show from the government's end, really.
Why are they trying to make it out like you guys are on strike? What's the deal?
It's good political spin.
Why?
Obviously, we're one of the first government agencies to go up for a negotiation period. So whatever we get, whether it be financials, it would be conditions, etc., sets the standard for other unions that work in government sector to follow. So, yes. So they're probably worried looking at us and going, well, shit, if we give it to them, then the nurses will come after us for the same thing. The AMBOs will, the teachers will. All of these areas that in public area will come after us and ask for the same thing. And God forbid we give it to them, and God forbid we pay those guys as well. And so I think that's more what they're worried about. They don't want to give out anything to anyone, because God forbid we should have a living wage.
Yes.
And actually have recognition for the work we do in public sector. And that's what it is. It's about losing face. They don't want to lose face.
What do you mean by face? How would they be losing face to give you a living wage?
They've kind of set themselves up to believe, well, this is how I interpret it anyway.
Yeah.
They set themselves up to believe in their own minds that they're this awesome, great investment in the New South Wales economy, and they look after every worker and all of this. They're a great employee and all of that, but yet they don't want to be shown wrong. And that's how, in particular with our EA bargaining, goes, is that they'll agree to things, they'll backtrack on things, and then they'll agree to things, and then they'll deny things because, God forbid, they actually have to, I hate to say it, lose face or back down and say, well, shit, we were wrong. We're just going to stand on this soapbox and keep having the argument, even though we are wrong, because we can't show the general public we're weak in any way. Because if we were to be put back into politics, which, God forbid, let's hope not, then...
So they see this as like a big part of their image as well, is like we're the ones that stand up to the greedy unions. And
absolutely.
Yes.
The fact that they were seen having a lovely coffee date, as we all saw in the paper, having a coffee date with John Howard and, I can't remember his name, the union buster from the years and all of that, that's very telling to us as unionists that, okay, so they're gonna go and side with these people, try and get them how they can bust apart the union movement. They don't like unions. They really don't like unions.
Well, that's news to me. I didn't know that.
You wouldn't have thought it with everything that's been going on, but yeah, they really don't like unions. So I think it's because we hold them accountable and they don't like being held accountable. And that's probably the biggest problem there, is because they can't just go out and do willy-nilly what they want. We'll sit there and go, well, hang on a minute, mate, you can't just do that. And they're used to having a free-for-all and we don't let them.
Yes.
So
and then the other thing that, now that I was thinking about this as well, this is an interesting theory that you guys have formulated, which is that the other portion of them going after you so hard is when you come to public services, they're very used to turning the CFMEU into these like militant bikies that just rough handle their way through bargaining, just holding some poor, like CEO over a building, just being like, we're getting a raise, right? Like, that's like 20 Chicago view of unions. But when it comes to...
Sit there with this cigar.
But like when it comes to public servants, what are your options? Nurses, ooh.
Yeah.
Teachers. I mean, I always thought that some of my teachers were fairly militant, and I guess they're like more hated than nurses because you just like fucking missed Frankston from year 3, but like. But like when like your options are getting pretty thin if you have to say that like teachers these unfair gangsters running roughshod, right? So the closest that they have to that is train drivers.
Train drivers, train guards, station staff.
Yeah, well, train guards might have tasers. I don't know.
No.
Nothing.
No, they've got a whistle. They've got a whistle.
How pathetic is that?
Yeah. But yeah.
What do you do if there's like a scene? You just but more train guards to come in and just be like, that you don't need to see your Opal card.
If you're a train guard and you're on a train and someone comes toward you aggressively, the workplace policy for any Sydney Trains, New South Wales Trains employee is remove yourself from the situation, back away. Don't protect it, just back away.
What's the point of them being there? Just because people, like me, just assume that they have like some Crocodile Dundee knife in
Train
their pants
guards?
or something, yeah.
No, so they're there to close the doors, give assistance on boarding. They're as a safety measure. They sit there, they look down the line of the platform to make sure nobody's jumping in and off, and that when the driver has to move the train out, they give the right of way to say, yep, it's all clear.
I thought they were supposed to grab lads by their collar and just be like, that's it, you didn't pay your fee, and then take them out.
No. So the train guard is different to a security guard.
Ah, okay.
So that might be where you're getting a bit confused.
Well, that is clearly.
Security guards, no. They might be different, but that's most security on stations is not, they're contracted.
Yeah, okay.
So
we're back to the same.
We're going back to the same thing.
But is that the deal? Is that like they've really run out of options? It's a good old faithful for the Liberal Party when they're in. It always actually, I really do like seeing when the Liberals start to try and run these press campaigns and the unions are coming. I really always feel like, awesome, that's the end of their election cycle.
Yeah.
Like, they're out of ideas.
Oh, absolutely.
And especially if they're going to this point of, like, the guy just on the tram being like, that's the bikie now.
Yeah. Yeah, so we know that their campaigning, it always goes down the same lines. And any EA, one of the first things that they will bring up is, well, drivers are on over $180,000 a year.
That one plays well on 2GB.
Yeah. This time around, though, surprisingly, apparently I, as a cleaner, I make over $120,000 a year. I would love to see where that money is because I don't make anywhere near that.
How much do cleaners make?
Oh, on average, they're making, our base wage is about $47,000. $47,000 to $50,000 a year. Base wage.
I get how you could survive off that in the 90s, but I don't think it's the 90s anymore.
No.
I think you need more money than that.
Well, you would think with petrol prices and house prices and electricity, all of these things going up. Yeah, we've got cleaners paycheck to paycheck.
And where's this additional 70 grand? Where's that? Where's that supposedly coming from?
I, honest to God, have no idea because it certainly is not in my bank account.
Yeah.
So I would not be able to, like one of my co-workers, she goes, I honestly don't know where that is because if I got it, my husband must have spent it because I never saw it. So it's those like these ridiculous claims that they're making. That's when we know that they're in panic mode, when they start pulling out these ridiculous numbers as a bit of a scare tactic to kind of get the public offside. And we have seen it work in the past. Well, if they're getting 180 grand for a driver a year, they should just be grateful. We're not getting that. The difference between what a person of the general public makes to us is not that different. It really isn't. It's just the government likes to put their own spin on things to make it look like we're being greedy, we're the thugs, we're the terrorists, and yeah, so we're the black sheep of the public sector within the New South Wales.
You know what? Actually, talking to you, I'm actually feeling a lot more optimistic about this fight than I originally thought because it really seems like, first off, that the Liberals, this is just a very desperate ploy. It's frustrating the negotiations that you guys are going through, I guess, but like if this is optically the best that they have and it doesn't seem to be washing through with the public, I could be wrong about this, but I honestly think that a reason that it's looking good for New South Wales Labor in the polls next year is because there is all of this dispute with the rails and they catch the trains to go to work. And so they're seeing it firsthand. And even then, they're not siding with the government.
No.
They still think that you guys are in the right.
Yep.
And the press is just endlessly, headline after headline, about how the militant unions are trying to shut down the rail lines as some... Bizarrely, it's just always the case with the press, the exact opposite of reality. Them saying that this is the unions in tandem with the Labor Party to make some political ploy of shutting down the rails so that it looks bad for the government or something like that. Even with all of that, I feel like that the public is on your side. Is that what you're getting?
I would say... yes, to a certain degree. Obviously, you still will have your naysayers and you will still have a bit of the keyboard warriors out there. But a lot of the public, when you actually sit down and have that conversation with them, will understand it. They do understand it. People that go out and look for this stuff, they've got to remember, we're workers, but we have families and we talk to our family members that might not even be in the industry, who talk to their friends and then so on and so forth. So people are actually starting to hear the real story around things, not what the press is putting out or the government is putting out as propaganda for themselves to go against us. So people are coming to see, hang on a minute, what they were telling us wasn't actually accurate. Like, God forbid their government actually lied. Like, that kind of thing. So we're slowly seeing that narrative kind of turned. Whereas before, at the beginning, it was very one-sided and it was very government-sided. As it's going, it is starting to turn, which is a good thing. Yeah. It's a good thing.
No, that's great because this is...
We're still copying the flack sometimes by some individuals, but we're not copying as much flack.
No. And especially when this is something that I didn't even know about you guys, but with all of these like industrial actions, you have been very deliberate from the beginning to make sure that the public isn't impeded as much as possible, that they can get to work and they're not interrupted. I think as like a favour to them, you kind of gave them like free Opal rides and things. Is that the deal?
We have tried to give them free Opal rides. New South Wales Trains, Sydney Trains are currently taking us to federal court over that.
Yep.
They're suing us.
Yep.
So that's been a great experience to go through.
Oh, courts always are. Yeah, it's just better than Wet and Wild. It's just...
I wish I could have Wet and Wild, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, they're both fun, whatever floats your boat.
Absolutely. But, so we have tried. We've had Opal gates opened. at certain times. We've actually got the wide gates opened at the moment, but people still need to tap on and off because they will still get charged the full fare. But what the action that we wanted to take was to turn off the Opal machines completely. Apparently, no one in Sydney Trains or any in Sydney Trains employee is actually allowed to flick a circuit breaker switch. Apparently that's illegal. It's not in their job description. Apparently so.
Yep.
But we'll find out when we go to federal court.
Oh. Hey, stay tuned, huh?
Absolutely.
Well, what's your experience with David Elliott?
I am... Yes, I've got to be careful because I know my parents will watch this and I'll link.
No, they're fans, are they? David Elliott's your dad.
No, yeah. God, no. God, no. I would do name change and everything for that one.
And you did. Exposed. Yeah.
Absolutely. He is an interesting piece of work.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a puppet master. Look, we have powers that be that are faceless powers that be that won't turn up to these meetings but are making decisions. And no matter how many times we've requested them to turn up, they won't turn up. We get the runaround of why they can't turn up or there aren't anybody there. And yeah. But David Elliott, the interactions that we've had with him, at first he was like, yep, okay, let's see what we can do. Let's come out and fix it. But as time has gone on, it's gotten a lot more aggressive. Since the 21st of February, it's gotten a lot more aggressive.
What happened?
Well, 21st of Feb was when we got the lockout.
Yeah.
And then we've had other meetings prior to that or since then. And I remember we had a 3-day meeting at Transport for New South Wales. And on the third day he came in, pretty much saw us walking in the lobby and said, I'm not walking in with you. Walked past us. We had barely even sat down in the room. He sat down and goes, and this is what it's going to be. This is how it is, and that's it. Got up, walked out. Media said that he was in the room with us for 30 minutes. Barely 5 to 10. Barely 5 to 10. He yelled at us, told us what he thought of us, and then walked out. And
that was the last interaction you had with him?
That's the last interaction I've had with him. Yeah, to not even wait for us to sit down just shows the level of respect that he has for us.
Do you think it is, or do you think that it's a thing where strategists have said, hang on, this might work if we kind of just create a fight out of nothing for this? It
could be. Look, we all know he's no decision maker in this whole EA process, even though he is the transport minister. He's not the one pulling the strings.
Who is?
I would say that there's an agenda higher up. It's probably like the finance minister, you've got the Tudor Hopes, you've got... Which, mind you, none of us knew we had an industrial minister before Tudor Hope decided to put his finger in this pie. Like, honestly, no one knew. We had to Google who he was. No one knew who he was prior to our EA process. It's really that bad. It was great because we all got letters with Tudor Hope's name on it, and we're like, who is this guy? We did not even know we had an industrial minister. No one knew.
Why did he decide to put his finger into the pie?
Personally, I think he was given the go-ahead by Perrottet.
So all of these disruptions in, I don't know how many people you're dealing with across the state catching trains to work. What, are we close to 1 million, something like that?
Probably more.
Probably more than 1 million. All of that disruption, denying, I'm assuming, tens of thousands of workers a livable wage when it's easily affordable to the New South Wales government. Basic increases. It's not like you're even asking for anything fancy in this new contract negotiation. It's just a classic, we just want our wages to match inflation.
We want, to match our inflation and individual claims for individual areas. It's just acknowledgement for the work we do. That's all it is, really. And it's we're asking the world, apparently.
Yeah. And really, it seems like the reason that all of this is happening is out of pure optics.
Mm-hmm.
So they've disabled a state's economic productivity, because if you are denying 1 million workers going to work, that has to be costing the wider economy of New South Wales a lot of money.
Most definitely.
Most definitely. And
Having a train sit in a yard, and a brand new train sit in a yard and cost the amount of money it's costing per train to sit there each
what was
day.
that again? I forget. It was
trains.
insane.
It's like, I think it is about $30,000 a day
Yeah.
per train or something.
Yeah.
$30,000 a day. And that's been sitting up there for a substantial amount of time now. That money...
It's about almost $1 million a month.
Absolutely.
Just for one train.
Absolutely. They could have had the modifications already done and dusted by now. And if they did that, then that other money that they've saved for not having it sit up there for days on end could have gone to what we're asking for, and could have potentially gone to other public sector areas as well. But no, they're being very stubborn and pig-headed about it, and we're going to get on our soapbox and no.
Oh, before I go back to just to explain to everybody, these are the trains that were unsafe to drive, and this was the ones where the unions were just saying, you need to make these modifications because we're not going to drive a death trap, which you would imagine is, look, I think you were asking for way too much to be able to afford groceries, all right? That's my personal opinion. It seems a little more reasonable to me to not die on a train.
Yeah.
Right? But
Can't have both. Can't have both.
and this was the government's view. It was just like, they're just like, just shut up and drive it. That was it.
Yeah, they think it's safe. How
would they know? David Elliott wasn't even the transport minister that long ago. It's not even his portfolio.
I know. The current government isn't even the government that ordered these bloody trains.
Yeah.
Like, it's great.
And do you think that that's part of all of this, of just starting this blue... Pretty much just so that they have a talking point that they can grab headlines with and maybe somehow link your dispute with the government to the Labor Party so that they might be able to shave some points off them. Do you think that was part of it, this death trap thing?
It could have been. It could have been. I think previous government that was around has made poor decisions by buying the bloody things in the first place and not having them.
And this was again because they just don't listen to you guys.
Yeah,
is that,
no.
Yeah, because you were saying this originally, that this is a stupid idea to get these trains.
Absolutely. The RTBU have said nothing like, come and talk to us. And that's all any of us, any employee has asked is just come and talk to us. Ask us what works best. We're the ones that do the job every day. We know the ins and outs of our industry. Instead of telling us what you want us to do, ask us. It's a foreign concept, I know, but ask us. We will give you the right advice, but that doesn't happen. And that's not just within the railway. That's within the teaching, the nursing, all of it. They don't.
Every public service.
They don't talk. They just don't talk to their workforce. If they did, God forbid. I know it's all a bit like rainbows and unicorns, but it would be perfect. Communication's an amazing thing, but when you want to be an arrogant asshole of a government and just go, no, this is how it is, well, you're going to upset the apple cart and people are going to get a kick out of it and have fun doing industrial actions.
Right, okay, yes. Yeah. So it's come to this, eh? And so this is the impasse now.
Yeah.
So there's no headway in these negotiations at all. You just sort of log ahead and that's it. You got any improvements at all, or it's just kind of at this stalemate?
We're still doing conciliation. We've still got to wait for the Fair Work hearing to be, like the results from the Fair Work hearing. They're still suing us. It's great. Through conciliation, we have had some tiny movements, but it's slower than snail's pace at this point. And things like, it wasn't 2 months ago that things that they had agreed to over 12 months ago, they pulled back on and said no. And it wasn't until we got to the conciliation process that we've actually got those things back. So until we actually have some decent discussions and they actually are honest with us for once and actually get the decision makers there, the people that the unforeseen or the faceless people that are making these decisions to tell us and as to why they're making these decisions, it's just going to keep kind of going slow and slow.
It's just incredible to me that over the last 10 years, which is what Liberal governments always do, but that just slowly privatising through stealth, as you said, something as basic and as important as transport infrastructure, which, geez, you want to talk about being a good economic manager, to just make that not work is incredible that they could even claim that. But but doing that, and then just at the last moment when they realise, oh, okay, there might be like some good publicity in for us, and then destroying that, and then that turning on its head, it seems, and they're still going forward.
Yep.
Is that's what's happening here. So like now it seems like they're just destroying the New South Wales transport system out of pride.
Yes. That's the way it's coming across to members too. We'll just do it because it's absolute and utter pig-headedness. That's all it's coming across as.
I'm glad you came in and said that's something that people really need to know.
And
like that's how my
cleaners
David
see it.
Elliott wants to have a mad win.
That's pretty much Perrottet does not want to lose face. That's all it is. It's just downright arrogance.
Yeah.
That's all it's coming across as. God forbid the union actually gets something for their members. Like, we can't make that allowance is what it's coming across as.
Yeah, but just general public safety as well. Like, it's just all of these things off the negotiation table.
These people
because
that will
you
vote us in.
asked for it or something? I don't know.
The people that will vote us in next election, if we're lucky enough, God forbid we worry about their safety. That's the kind of thing. Like, it's absolute arrogance.
I guess it's just a thing of just being in power for 10 years. You kind of start getting this born to rule mentality. Because you're saying that it was worse over the last 4 years.
Yes, absolutely.
Everything started going downhill in the last election cycle, I suppose.
6 to 4 years. 6 to 4 years. It's gotten worse. Like, yes, we've had COVID with the pandemic and lockdowns and all of that, but we have seen increases in supplementary labour, expectations of workloads, all of this. It's gotten more and more and more. And it's just like, how much blood do they want is what it's coming to.
Yeah.
Like, that's where it's at. But we always say in regards to all of this, like, you're making too much sense. Like, logic is a dirty word. The government don't like to hear logic because it goes against their agenda. So when we're in EA and someone will say something logical, we're like, no, don't say the dirty word. Like, it's a big joke because we all know that they're not going to do anything unless they're forced. And we're at the stage where we're forcing. And the public's at the stage where they've had enough. So we're getting there. Slowly, but we're getting there. But I think it's a fight that was inevitable. It was inevitable. It really was.
Seems it.
It does.
Especially, God, that's a long build-up, like half a decade.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, thanks for giving us an update.
No problem.
Appreciate it a lot.
All good. When we were at Transport meeting with Elliot, we had mainstream media ask for these, and they've never, and we sent them to them, and they've never shown them. So this is like shit, paper, rubbish, the graffiti.
Fucking what? How does someone eat that much? That's like 2 people.
Yeah. Oh no, it gets better. There's a thing called a rotten meat train, and I kid you not.
No. Yeah. Okay. Go on.
Maggots, the whole thing. It smells like a dead body. As soon as you can smell it from 2 carriages away. That's how bad it is.
How does it rot?
So
people are eating it?
No. So we have this person that obviously likes to store meat out in the sun and then comes on the trains and dumps it.
Why?
We don't know. I don't know if he's the full quid, but we've been dealing with that for the last 5 years. We've reported it to internal security and...
Is it the same train line every time?
No, it's different. It's different.
This is
like,
this man's
I feel sorry
job.
For... Yeah.
This is his calling in life.
Yeah. like I've grown immune to it now. Like I've had colleagues dry heaving outside of the train. And I'm just
not
like,
dry.
yeah, just we'll be good. So this is the rotten meat.
That's the man. That is so rotten that it looks like a turd. Like it's that decomposed.
Oh, and that's not got the maggots. Like we've had it with the maggots in the whole train. Trying to zoom out for you.
God, that is an incredible murder. That should be on NCIS right there. That one.
Toilets at stations that our station cleaners have to deal with. Like
that was very explosive.
Yeah. Yep, overflowing toilets in the V sets. So these are the trains that are going to get replaced by the NIFs when they come in.
Needle as well.
Yeah, that's very common. And years ago, we actually had
Couldn't wait
people
till you got home.
on the Tangaras would chew up chewing gum and down the side of the Tangara seats, put the gum there and put a razor blade.
Why?
Just because they could. And so then they'd put rubbish over it. So we'd go in and pick it up and we could potentially have a cut.
I thought that was an urban legend.
No. Syringes being put between toilet seats like that so that when someone sits on it, they get pricked. That's a common occurrence too. So we've got some patronage that's very...
You know what? I'm kind of
Special?
glad that the transport infrastructure is getting dismantled. The public are filthy.
Absolutely.
They deserve everything they get.
Absolutely.
Like, pooing in the sink, for Christ's sake.
Oh, that's a common occurrence.
That's hard to do. Like, that's an accomplishment.
There are times where we've looked at parts of the trains and we're like, it's creative, but how? How? Like, how do you do that? Like, so yeah, that's what we have to deal with on the regular.
Yeah, I feel like dry retching now. That was...
Oh, the best...
You know what's amazing about those pictures? You can smell it.
Well, showing that slideshow to the businesses negotiating team and the ministers and all of that, deliberately after lunch, whilst I'm eating my lunch and giving a detailed explanation of smells and textures and stuff like that, they were going very green very quickly. And colleagues that were outside of the EA meeting, all they could hear was, oh. And I'm just like, it's normal. This is what we go through every single day. It's not one-off occurrences. It's every day.
Man.
Right.
Yeah, so you're like a mortician looking at dead bodies now,
Yeah.
but turds.
Yeah.
That's your...
Yeah.
Man. You know what? If that isn't going to get you any headway in negotiations, nothing will. Because, like, I'm looking at that right now and I'm just like, surely you deserve more than David Elliott gets. Surely. Like...
We have heard this. So far all they're offering us is nothing, pretty much.
Yeah.
From a cleaning perspective. We're still trying to fight for that. They at first said we're only worth 74 cents to clean up stuff like that, extra. So
even after the presentation, after your TED talk.
After the presentation, 74 cents an hour extra.
Hey, actually, you got some headway out of it.
No, that was their ground from the get-go. You're only worth 74 cents from the get-go.
Right, so they just puked at that and then just like, well, exchange, take it or leave it.
Yeah, you're still only worth 74 cents. And so with the cleaning industrial actions, that's why we're doing what we're doing from our point of view with the actions that we're taking, to show them exactly what 74 cents will get them.
I wonder, why is it, do you have any explanations for this? Why is there so many freaks in New South Wales?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Some of it, like, there are times where some of the things even that we find on the trains, we're just like, why would you bring that on a train in the first place? Like, this isn't a train going like from here to the Blue Mountains, so you'll be travelling home from like an overseas trip or anything. This is, you're going from, say, for example, Liverpool to Lidcombe. Why would you need to be carrying that on the train?
What's that?
We've seen sexual apparatuses and...
Oh, they just left them on the train, did they?
Just randomly left them on the train.
Like their phone or something?
Yeah.
Yep.
So those things...
Do you guys get to keep all that stuff?
Oh, God, no.
Well, so it's just a permanent lost and found.
Anything that we find on the
Raiders of the
train,
Lost Ark.
we're meant to hand into lost property.
Yeah.
So,
Jesus, I thought, if you shouldn't even need a raise. You should just be able to keep all the stuff that you find and then hock it at cash converters.
I don't know if I would want to keep some of the things. They can stay in the lost and found for all I care. I don't want some of them. But yeah, some of them are very interesting. Some of the things that we have to deal with are very, very interesting as well.
Yeah.
Like you get your usual people that have had a very good night with a very, very big bang at the end of the night on the trains.
Yeah.
We'll get the remainders of those situations.
Very lucky lady. Yeah.
Oh, so romantic. Like, it's every woman's dream.
Is it at least the one in the corner that kind of looks like it's a little room? It's straight in the
we'll
middle.
We'll even get them, you know the handholds on the trains in the vestibule? We'll get them hanging from those.
See, again, it's just like I can't fathom how you're doing that.
Exactly. The process of, one, I can't understand why you would be wanting to, in an open place, and like they're not ashamed. They'll do it in front of other passengers, but then go and put things on other things as well. You just sit there and like, that was bad enough, but let alone then to go and do that. Like, where does your brain go, oh, this will be a great laugh? Like, yeah. It's just, to me, it's strange. It's
definitely that. It's definitely very odd.
We have some really great people on the trains that catch public transport. Then we have some very interesting patronage as well.
Yeah, it's such a
and the interesting
curve of
patronage
humanity.
gives us some great stories to tell at Christmas dinners. It's great. But yeah.
I feel like I want to just interview a psychologist now and just ask about that. Like, why did they try and fling their poo on the roof? Can you just answer me that? Like, I'd love to know why someone would want to. You know,
each to their own. Like, if that's what makes you happy, go for it. Like, it's just things like that. Is just it makes our jobs harder, but it also makes them more interesting too, and it makes the day go along a bit more differently than when you first intended.
I always think that bad stories are the best stories.
Yeah, kind of a bit like, what am I going to work to deal with today type thing. And then
you get a kick out of it after a while.
Sometimes you do. Sometimes you're like, oh God, here we go again. Like it's the meat train again. Or it's...
that can only be novelty so many times.
Yeah, and when you're getting it almost on a nightly basis, it's not so much the novelty anymore. it wears off very quickly. But then when you...
It's so good, because in his mind, he must think he's like a visual anti, like Batman or something.
I think that's what it is. Like, either that or he was done wrong by the railways at some point.
Oh.
That's the only other thing.
Okay.
We've all sat around and gone, why the hell would anyone want to do this? And we're like...
Because there was a train delay for an hour.
He was done wrong by the railways. Something's happened, and that's his way of getting his vengeance. Like, that's the only thing we can think of.
Man, you got to... It's like, how long is it? 5 years?
Yeah, about
what
that.
What a vindictive man.
Oh,
He's got his payback already.
The vengeance
Get on with your life.
It burns deep.
Man, that guy needs to watch a lot of Oprah. Like, he needs to just, learn to forgive.
Bit of Dr. Phil.
Yeah.